Okay, today we are doing Daf Tes Amud Beis. So we had three machlokesen in the Mishnah about what it seems that all the three machlokesen are about whether Rosh Hashanah is considered kedusha achas or shtei kedushas. So Rabbi Yehuda, he considered the 2 days Rosh Hashanah as two kedushas, and Tanakama, Rabbi Yehuda is considers it as two kedushas, and the loy hoyde loy chachamim, and the chachamim consider it as one kedusha. So the first two machlekes, and one is about an eruv, and the other one is about taking truma and meiser, and in that machlekes, which speaks about truma meiser, it also speaks about beitza. So in essence, so in the first two machlek, there is there's three machlekes in between Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim. The last part of the Mishnah is machlekes in Rabbi Dosa ben Hurkinus and the Chachamim. But in the first part of the Mishnah, we have three machlekes between Rabbi Yehuda and Chachamim. One is about Rosh Hashanah, about Eruvin, and the one is about Trumas and Meiser, and one is about Beitza Shenilda in the first day of Rosh Hashanah. And so Rabbi Yehuda is the one who holds Shtei Kedushas, and the Chachamim hold its Kedusha Achas. So the question is, since that's the Kudah of the Machlekes, why do we need to have three Machlekes and just have one Machlekes? That will be enough, and we'll see the principle that one holds Kedusha Achas, one holds Shtei Kedushas. The Gemara says, V'eidom Rabbi Yehuda. So we have another Machlekes. Why do we need another Machlekes? Why does it need to mention the second Machlekes and third one? We already have one Machlekes. We have already one Machlekes, the Machlekes of Eruvin. Says if we say Rosh Hashanah, I mean referring here to the Machlekes. There is the Gosa Bach says Reish, not Rosh Hashanah. Anyway, so whichever way you go, but the intention certainly is for concerning Eruvin. So if you would say the Machlekes concerning Eruvin, whether you can make the Eruv differently for each day of Rosh Hashanah because it's two kedushas, or you can't do that because it's one kedusha. So if you'd have that machlekes, I would say the reason why Rabbi Yehuda says it permits to do two eruvin on 2 different days, based on the din of that the 2 days Rosh Hashanah 2 kedushas mishum delika ovid midi, because he's not doing anything. It means on the yontif itself he's not doing anything. It's erev yontif. He's making the erev. One Erev is going to be for the first day, and the other Erev is going to be on the second day. But it's not doing anything on the Yontav itself. Or the basket of Truma, which is taking Truma. So what's the problem with the story with that? The story with the basket of Truma is the basket of food. The basket of food is that he forgot to take Truma before Rosh Hashanah. Therefore, it came Yontav, and he wants to take the Truma. So how can he take Truma? Making condition, etc. We will speak about it later how you do it. But b'chol he makes the condition on the truma. But when does he do that? He's making condition on the first day, or on the second day as well, as we will see later. But b'chol he's making it on Rosh Hashanah itself, and it ain't chenami because of the condition. It means that he's not the poil. He's not being mafresh the truma on the yontav, because it's this whole making the truma is based on Sveika de Yoma, if one day is Yontav or the other day is Yontav. So even though it's based on the concept of Beis Kedusha, but nevertheless, when is he actually making the truma? He's doing on Yontav. So on the Yontav itself, he's doing something. Okay, it's not because of basic kedushas and Sveika de Yoma, it's not considered doing it on Yom Tov itself, because you say he says that if today is Yom Tov, then what I'm saying today is nothing, and then the next day will be Truma. But the Poel, the saying is done on Yom Tov, so therefore I would have thought that even though he holds to the Rosh are two kedushas, nevertheless it will not be permitted. The merze, because it looks like he's metaken tivla, it looks like he's metaken the tevel. I would say moitel rabbanon that you cannot do it on Rosh Hashanah, even though he holds on the principle of basic kedushas. But this, which looks like he's doing malacha on the Yom Tov, is not permitted. So therefore, it needs. Therefore, he argues also in the second case, also in the case of truma. He has to mention that argument as well. Can't just rely on people understanding it from the first machlekes to negate the Eruvin. If we would say these two, the machlekes, and it would not mention the last machlekes of Beitz Shenel the Yom Rishon. That according to Behuda, because it's basic kedushas, you're allowed to use it on the second day as well. I would say because there's no reason to be geyser. Maybe the poil, there's no reason, because since base kedushas, okay, well, there's a chash of mezik, it looks like in the table, but the poil, there's no, in essence, of what he's doing, there's no real reason to not permit, since as long because we hold with the principle of two kedushas, so there's no reason why we should not. I mean, Rabbi Yehuda holds it's the principle of two kedushas there on Rosh Hashanah. So therefore, there's no reason that it should be also to do it. But our beitza, but concerning a beitza, I would have thought maybe if it's beitza, which is no on the first day, it should be also on the second day, even though we do hold with the principle of two kedushas. Why? Because there's a reason to maintain an Isser, even if it's two kedushas. There's a reason to maintain an Isser. Of a Beitza Shenel B'Yom Echad, it should be also on the second day. Why? Because the Ikla Migzah B'Mishum Peres HaNoshim, B'Mishum Mashkin Shezov, the Beitza, there's a number of reasons why, Gemara in Beitza gives a number of reasons why Beitza Shenel B'Yom Tov is awesome. So one of the reasons is, one of the opinions is Peres HaNoshim. Peres HaNoshim is that just like fruit which fall down on Yom Tov, fruits which fall down on Yom Tov, you are not allowed to you're not allowed to eat them on Yom Tov. So therefore, because the Gzeira of Peres HaNoshim, therefore you're not allowed to a beitza which is born on Yom Tov is also you're not allowed. Because we compare a beitza, and there's two opinions in the Gemara there in beitza. The beitza which comes out of from a chicken on Yom Tov, is it comparable to fruits from a tree which are formed, or it's comparable to water which have come out of a fruit, like you have grapes and the juice which is run from the grapes by themselves, didn't squeeze it. If it's run by itself. So both the pears which fall from a tree and mashkin which was fall from the tree on Yom Tov by itself, and also mashkin the fruit, the juice which has come out from from grapes or similar, which has run by itself, not that you squeezed out, it ran by itself. So midrabanon, it's also midrabanon. It's also midrabanon. Now, so since it's also midrabanon, which of the two is more comparable to a beitza which came out of on the one hand, it's not a mashke. On the other hand, it doesn't grow in a tree. So, which is it more similar? Is it similar to Peres HaNoshim, or is it more similar to Mashkin Shezov? Actually, yeah. So we do. There's a different opinions. One says you compare it to Peres HaNoshim, one says you compare it to Mashkin Shezov. But the thing is, if you have 2 days Yom Tov, so if you say that it will bring a laxity in, even though we will say that the reason why it's permitted on the second day is because it's shtei kedushas. Since it's shtei kedushas, so that was born. The beitza was born the first day. We allow it on the second day. By the end of the day, it was born on Yom Tov, and we use it on Yom Tov. Okay, the second day Yom Tov. It will result in people being lax in the halacha of Peres Hanoshin, or in the halacha of Mashkim Shazava, whichever opinion you follow, or whichever opinion you follow, and for the din of Beit Yisrael Yom Tov. So therefore, there is actually a real reason, even though it's since it's not so visible, and it seems like, it was born on Yom Tov and using on Yom Tov, so therefore, it actually will cause people to be lax in the din of Peres Hanoshin. So therefore, maybe we should be going. So therefore, Eimen Moedel Rabbanon. So I thought maybe it's Moedel Rabbanon. So therefore, the Mishnah has to repeat that even there, because that Rabbi Yehuda is not worried about it, and it's permitted because it's basic bushes. Okay. Tanya with the Brisa, Ketzad, how do you make this truma? And if you didn't make truma erev Yom Tov, you make truma on the Yom Tov itself. How do you do that? So the way you do that is, Amr Yehuda, Masna Adam al hakalkola beyond Rishon. So, and according to Yehuda, you can do that even in Rosh Hashanah, right? When we in Golos, we have 2 days Yom Tov. All Yom Tov is 2 days. So, but the 2 days Yom Tov which we have in Golos is the regular 2 days Yom Tov is for sure Sveika Diyoma. It's not Kedusha Achas. We will soon discuss it as well. But basically, it's for sure that the whole discussion whether it's Kedusha Achas or basic Kedushas when the 2 days Yom Tov is on Rosh Hashanah itself, because of the reasons which we learned yesterday. So how by Yom Tov according to Yehuda even on Rosh Hashanah as well? So according to Yehuda even Rosh Hashanah, how do you make this truma if you forgot to make truma erev Rosh Hashanah? So masna adam al kakol b'yom tov rishon, you make it nai ba'ichle b'sheni, and then he eats it on the second day. What's the example? He says it is. We had shtei kakolas shel tevel. He has two baskets of tevel, so you're not allowed to eat it, and you can't be mafresh on Yom Tov. So Omer says, Im hayoim choil u'mocher kodesh. If today is choil, today is not Yom Tov, tomorrow is the Yom Tov. No. So tehei zu truma zu. So this one should be truma on the other one. So it should be truma. The Im hayoim kodesh, right? So this should be truma, and therefore once it's truma, I'm able to eat it. The Im hayoim kodesh u'mocher choil. But if today is Yom Tov, so whatever I say, it should be nothing. The Koyel Hashem umanicha. So he says this is truma, and he leaves it because he said before he said this is truma. He said, if today is Yom Tov, forget it, my word should have no effect. So therefore he's allowed to say it. If it's not Yom Tov, it should have effect. So Memanashach is allowed to say it. Either it won't have effect or it will have effect. The mocha comes tomorrow. He says imayim chayil tehezu truma zu v'mim kedesh im b'dvarek. So the second day, he says again, he makes it truma. And he says, if today is weekday, so then it should be truma. It should be truma because it's a weekday, I'm allowed to make truma. And the other one should not be truma. But if today is kodesh, of course, I'm not making it truma. And anyways, you made the truma from before, right? So because yesterday was truma. If today is kodesh, then yesterday's truma is a good truma, so it's done already. Anyway, so in Bidvar what I said means nothing. The Koyel Hashem, and now you can eat this. The second day, Mimonashach, either he made it truma on the first day or he made it truma on the second day, and therefore you can eat. Okay, so that is the thing how you make truma on if you forgot to do Yom Tov. So the second day of Yom Tov, you will be able to eat the truma because of the Tanai, the way how you make it truma. You will be able to eat it. You will be able to eat it on the second day. Now Rabbi Yosi Oyser. Rabbi Yosi says Oser, v'chein hoy Rabbi Yosi Oyser b'shnei Yom Tov Shegolias. And similarly also in the Yom Tov Shegolias, that means not just in Eretz Yisrael, but the Yom Tov, not just in irregular Yom Tov Shena Shegolias, I mean 2 days Yom Tov like we have now. They also would say Oser. I said before that 2 days now, 2 days which we have now is for sure Shtei Kedushas. Yeah, but Rabbi Yosi, it seems over here, what we're learning now, it seems, later we'll see, but it seems over here that he holds that that the 2 days Yontif, of all 2 days Yontif, Pesach, Shavuos, etc., they're all Kedusha Achas. That's what it is. Okay. And the stuck a story like that. Hubar Tavia, there was this deer, the Oslo Beres Gelusha, which was it came to the Beres Gelusha, the Itzit, which was trapped beyond the Rishon Shagolis. So there was a deer which Goyim had trapped that deer on the first day Yontif, with Sukkot or Shavuos, whatever it was, they trapped it. And it was brought to the Reish Galusa, the deer, the Ishla beyond Sheni. So the Yontif Rishon didn't shecht it, so they shecht in the Yontif Sheni, because since it was trapped on the Yontif Rishon, so therefore you're not allowed to use it on the Yontif because it was trapped on that day. So what they did was they wait till the second day. The second day is Monashech. If today is Yontif, then the last day, yesterday was not Yontif. So therefore you're allowed to shecht the Yontif because it wasn't trapped in Yontif, etc. So because of Sveika the Yema, they went ahead and they shechted it and gave it to Tzibur. So Rav Nachman and Rav Chizda were present, and they ate the deer. Rav Sheshes lo yochal, he did not want to eat the deer. So Rav Nachman sees, Rav Nachman, by the way, is his son-in-law. He's from the family of the Reish Galusa. So he says, "My Abed Rav Sheshes the Lord, this is the target. What can I do for Rav Sheshes that he's not eating he doesn't eat the meat of the deer? How can I help him out or whatever it is?" Anyway, so he made a comment about him not eating. Rav Sheshes says, how can I eat? The Tony Isi said, Amrila Isi Tony, there's two versions. Did he say Tony Isi or did he say Isi Tony? So Bekitza, how can I eat? How is it possible to eat? It's because we learned what? V'chein hoya, this is a quote from Isi. V'chein hoya Rabbi Isi, v'chein hoya Rabbi Isi, oiser shnei yom teim shegolias. That Rabbi Isi said not only is it awesome Rosh Hashanah, but also the 2 days of Goliath is also considered like Kedusha Achas. So according to Kedusha Achas, therefore was trapped on the first day. You can't eat it now. So that's a question: how are you, Rav Nachman, Rav Chizda? How are you eating? Right. So I don't understand how you guys are eating. Anyway, apparently this is. I doubt somehow that this was in the Reish Galusa, maybe later the comments by Rabbi. So see, he was questioning how they eat. So later, there's the comments of Rabbi and somebody else and Ravasi. Either they were there or they were not there. They heard the story. They comment. So Ravasi, my question: what kind of question? Dilma Hochikoma. Maybe the pshat in the Bryce is v'chein hoyer b'yosi oise b'shnei yom teim shloshon v'goyla. Isn't it? Rabbi Yossi doesn't say that the Yom Tov Sheni Shel Golis is Kedusha Achas. There's no reason to say that it should be Kedusha Achas, because either the one day is Yom Tov or the other day is Yom Tov. It's because of the Sophic. The whole thing is because of the Sophic. And when they stopped, so there was no Sophic anymore. So they said, no, the sent from Eretz Yisrael, keep your minhag. So the whole thing is based on a Sophic. Okay, keep your minhag, keep it like a Sophic, whatever. But it's based on a Sophic. So therefore the probably most likely the pshat in that brisa is that he would say that the goyla not only in Eretz Yisrael, is it kedusha achas, where that is where they make kiddush achodesh, and sometimes it was 1 day, sometimes it was 2 days, 2 days. Because if they came early, it was only be 1 day Rosh Hashanah, it's Kedusha Achas. But even in Golos, it's always 2 days. So that's also Kedusha Achas. The 2 days of Rosh Hashanah in Golos are also Kedusha Achas. That was what Rabbi said. So therefore, why is he questioning that? Why is he questioning their behavior? So Gemara says that's not a good response. Gemara says Yihachi should Goliath the Goyla be boile. The wording should not have been Shel Goliath, beyond the Shel Goliath. She said Begoyla, not only in Eretz Yisrael, where sometimes it's 2 days, sometimes it's 1 day, but even in Goyla, where it's always 2 days. It's that's how it should say. The word should be Goyla, not Goliath. So therefore, it's unlikely that the Brisa is the version the way Rabbi said it. Okay. Amar Ravasi, but Ravasi, so he's differently. He argues again. He sees no reason why it should be kedusha achas and all the regular tevim. Why should be kedusha achas? He doesn't see a reason for it, and therefore again he says, "My kusha." What's his question from Yosi? That Rabbi Yosi, surely the should be differently interpreted. The story of Rabbi Yosi. Dilma hachikama. That's what it says. The chein hoya Rabbi Yosi oiser iso shnei yomim tovim shel golios kishnei yomim tovim sharoshana l'rabbanon the shore. The chein of Yosi, that he would say the same thing applies to irregular yontav. Yes, I agree that when Rabbi Yosi says the words that the same was by regular yontav, but when he says the same, Rabbi Yosi would say the same things by regular yontav. He means the same thing like a regular yontav, that is permitted, like that, not like Rabbi Huda, like the Rabbanon. Just like they said by Rosh Hashanah, the same is all by regular Yom Tov. Like who said by Rosh Hashanah? Like the Chachamim said, Rabbanan the Sharu, the way they, the V'chein is Rabbanan, not on Rabbi Yehuda who sorry, the Rabbanan the Sharu, sorry, which is sorry, the Rabban the Sharu, it means he holds like the Chachamim who the Kitzur, the Kitzur, the V'chein is that he would permit it. The V'chein ho'yoyser b'b'yesi, he would make it like the he would make it like the that's mutter, like the opinion which is the Rosh Hashanah is mutter. It's the Kein ho'yoyser Oyser is a continuation to the din that you say that you're allowed to make from what it's two kedushas. You're allowed to make this nine. So the chen is for the permission, not the chen that he made the osir. The chen is that he gave that you permitted to make this sveikadiyama business and count it as two kedushas. I see. Okay. I realize I made a bit of a mistake here, and that is, let's go back to the Brisa for 1 second. If we go back to the Brisa, we see that this Brisa, it says it's permitted to make it tonight. Rabbi Yosi Oyser, he says it's also to make it tonight. So Rabbi Yosi says it's also to make it tonight on Rosh Hashanah. Why? Because he counts Rosh Hashanah like Kedusha Achas. And then it adds to it, it means that he would make the 2 days like the other opinion, not like his opinion. It's not a good Rabbi Yosi Oyser. If we're looking at the Brisa. So Rabbi Yosi Oyser, doesn't mean and the same halacha as his opinion of Oyser. The Chain goes to before. The Chain, he agreed with the previous opinion in regards to other Yom Tov. But again, to Rosh Hashanah, it's also, he holds Kedusha Achas, like the Chacham in the Mishnah. Like the Chacham in the Mishnah, he holds Kedusha Achas. But the Chain, when it came to the other Yom Tovim, he agrees. He agrees. Yeah. So that's how it fits in. And Rashi points out that even though maybe it's not so smooth flowing in the words of Rabbi Yossi, this pshat, it's not so smooth flowing. But now it's better to say this pshat rather than say that he would say that all Yomim Tovim is all Yomim Tovim is Kedusha Achas, because it just does not make sense that to have all Yomim Tovim Kedusha Achas. And we know that Rabbi Yossi, B'derech Klal, he always the halach is like Rabbi Yossi. It says Rabbi Yossi, he always had good reasons, and there seems to be no reason at all why we should say that the Shtei Yom Tovim Shigolios is a Kedusha Achas, like the logic we said before. This whole thing is based on the suffix, and even now it's all just meaning of saying of a continuation of that suffix status. So, B'kitzur Hadvarim. So what we've happened is that so the Rabbi and both Rava and Rav Asi, they say that Rabbi Yossi doesn't say it's also. So according to them, Rav Sheshes could have eaten the deer, because nobody says that Shtei Yomim Tovim shall a regular Yom Tov is considered Kedusha Achas. And even the Rabbi Yossi, that's not the pshat Rabbi. So so we have two options, but how to translate it, but actually nobody holds the option that it's two Yom Tovim Kedusha Achas. Okay, the Kitzur. I don't know if the Rabbi and Rabbi Asa were present or not, but here we'll come back to the story. If they weren't present, so it's a bit of a detour, but we'll come back to the story. Anyway, afterwards, Ashker Rav Sheshes Rabbi Shmuel. So he asked Rabbi Shmuel. Amalei said he met Rav Sheshes met Rabbi Shmuel. He asked him, Tony Mar Midi B'Kedushas, do you know anything about the two Kedushas of Yom Tov? Yeah, he says. So he answered back, yeah, Amalei Tanina, yeah, we learned the Brisa. Made Rabbi Yossi B'Shtei Yom Tov Shigolios. Yeah, that he had extra Brisa actually. That the version of that Brisa which he knew is that Rabbi Yossi agrees to two Yom Tov Shigolios, even though he argues on Rosh Hashanah, it says Kedusha Achas, but when it comes to two Yom Tov Rosh Hashanah, two regular Yom Tov steak dishes. So he felt bad because he didn't want to eat, and they were all eating, and he was wrong. It was like being super frum, and he's wrong. It's a big mistake. So Amalei said to him, you know what? If you meet the other Chevra, Reb Nachman and Reb Chizda, don't tell him nothing, because it'll be quite embarrassing for him. It's just don't tell him. Anyway, so we see over here that basically the regular Yom Tov sure steak dishes. Amar Rav Ashi, it's not Rav Ashi saying this. The Amalei Amemer told me, Ahu Bar Tavia, this story of the deer wasn't trapped. Lav, it wasn't. It didn't do it. It wasn't that it was trapped on the first day. It wasn't trapped on the first day. Elo michutz letchum. It came from outside the tchum on the day itself. It was trapped for one day and it came the second day, so then it was based on the heter of a shtei kedushes. So according to Rashi, he said Ameimer told him that the heter over there was not based on base kedushes. What was it based on? What was the issue? What was it? Because it came from outside the tchum. So the deer came from outside the tchum, and it was brought by Goyim, probably. Yeah, it was brought by Goyim. So Manda Ochal, one who said it came outside the tchum, Hakik, it's outside the tchum, it's been brought into the tchum. Manda Ochal Sovar, one who ate Sovar, Habob Yisrael Zeh, Mutal Yisrael Ach. If it's brought from outside the tchum for one yid, so it's brought from one yid, So then, so that yid is not allowed to eat it. If you bring something from outside the tchum, so that yid is not allowed to eat it. But another yid is allowed to, is allowed to. However, if the one for whom the this issur of the tchum outside the tchum, which is rabbanon, yeah. So the one that for which this sort of thing of the rabbanon the kedin was ignored. So the one for whom it was done, he's not allowed to have an offering. But another yid can have an offering. So so therefore, the Nachmanen they ate it because it wasn't brought for them. It wasn't brought for that party. Uman the loy ochal sovar called the osel beverish gelusa adat the kula bonos. That everything which comes to the Reish Gelusa is for all the people there. So I guess maybe it was brought for some other person over there. So it was brought from another person. So the Sheshes didn't want to eat because he held if this was brought to the Reish Galusa, that means it was to everybody. It's not brought for one particular person. It wasn't. Let's say it was brought for the Reish Galusa, but the Reish Galusa wasn't present. They were eating the Nachman of Chizda. The Sheshes would eat. So it's brought for the Reish Galusa, not for Nachman. So the Sheshes held. But if it's brought for Reish Galusa, it's all the people who look at it. There's always a crowd there, and it has everybody. So therefore, you're not allowed to. Anyway, so it's a whole story. It's a completely different story. Nothing to do with basic dushas ganze meise. Now that's a bit okay. So not only changing that story, but there's a very clear part in the story that that he met Rabbi Shmuel, and he asked him what's the din of basic dushas. There's a whole discussion over there about basic dushas. So how does that come in? If there's no relevance of basic dushas, how does the whole discussion of the basic dushas come into it? So more of Ashker, Rav Shesel, Rabbi Shmuel, whatever. It's the whole discussion. So his answer, okay. So the answer of Rav Ashi was no, that never took place. So not only is there a change in the version of the discussion between Rav Nachman and Rav Sheshes, but there's also another discussion. So two discussions, totally ignoring, say no, that discussion also didn't take place. It's Loyhod Varmalim. Who lifter? This types of, I think lifter type of turnip or something. The Osila Mechayza. So this lifter which came to the city of Mechayza, the Nofak Rava. So it came on Yontav. So Rava went out. Chazia saw the commission that it's a bit dry, it's a bit shriveled, a little bit shriveled. So she's a bit shriveled. Shara Rava lemizmabenet. So Rava permitted they should buy the turnips because Omar says it wasn't cut today. For sure, it was cut. If it's cut today, then you're not allowed to. Then you're not allowed to do it's noiled and so on, and therefore you're not allowed to have it on Yom Tov. So he had a look. It doesn't look like it was cut today. It's not so fresh. So therefore he says that you're permitted to buy it from the goyim because it wasn't cut today. This is yeah. But my amrit. What else can you argue? What else can you say that it should not be permitted? They brought it now from outside the tchum. They brought it from the fields, wherever it is. So they brought it from outside the tchum. No, they brought it from outside the tchum. Also, that's not a problem. Why? Because if it's brought for 1 year, the din is you can. If it's brought for 1 year, so he can't eat it, but another year is allowed to eat. The kolsh can high, and the situation over here that you have the what's it called with these the turnips over here, which you we're looking at. The Bechlans are brought for the whole city. That died to the Nachem says Bechlan brought for the goyim. So therefore, for sure, you are we can buy. It's not a problem of outside the Tchum. It was brought for us outside. It was not brought for us. It was brought for the goyim. And so given the chazak kamafshu, I see also. Then he saw. So the Jews went out to buy. Then he said they're bringing more. All of a sudden, more and more is being brought. So he figured that so they are bringing it for the. So because they see the Yidden are buying it, it's Yontav, etc. So there he says also because now he sees now they bring it specially for the Yidden, and therefore it's coming from outside the Tchum, even though it was cut before Shabbos, before Yontav. Sorry, nevertheless it's also. I think I'll stop over here.